Hey there, econ folks. This is Mr. Hooker back for video number 2 of chapter 1, first, uh, first principles. So here we go. The eighth point here is that markets usually lead to efficiency, but when they don't, government intervention can improve us. So basically, we're looking here. People normally take opportunities to make themselves better off. I mean, like nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, great data, like really screw up my life. Like that's nobody really does that. Like that's not a thing, right? So people are usually like, hey, this is a great day to move forward in life. So efficiency is all the opportunities to make people better off have been exploited. We do have what we call market failure. So market failure is when the market fails to reach optimal output. It happens on a regular basis. I doubt you've ever cried about it. And then if that happens, and the government looks at it and goes, you know what, this thing ain't working the way it's supposed to. Maybe we need to do something about it. So the government gets involved. And that leads to the potential for what we call government failure. Now, government failure is anytime the government gets involved and does not move us toward the optimal output. If they don't move us closer to the optimal output, that is government failure. Now, anytime there is government failure, I promise somebody will be on social media crying about that one. You have probably seen it before. Like the government got all up in my life and messed it up, right? That is how that works out. They will always be on social media. Now that social media is a thing, it ain't going away. There will always be somebody on social media crying about government failure. So that is just how that is going to work. All right. In most fast food chains, there's one person taking the order, another to make each item, another to bag it up. That is basically specialization. One person's spending is another person's income. So basically, if I spend $1 and you receive it, my spending is your income. So during the recession, drop in business spending leads to less income, less spending, more drops in business spending, layoffs, and rising unemployment. This is the circular flow. Okay. It is how things go. All right. So it's the simple circular flow, but we'll get to that. All right. So overall spending sometimes gets out of line with the economy's productive capacity. And when it does, government policy can change that spending. So that's a lot of Keynesian economics, but it is what it is. So overall spending, the amount of goods and services that consumers and businesses want to buy, sometimes doesn't match the amount the economy can produce. So sometimes we just can't produce as much as people want to buy. Um, and then you're seeing that kind of lately with all the inflation. Like we don't have the productive capacity, and people just keep spending. They keep buying and buying, and that causes prices to rise. Like you people need to quit spying so much. Like slow down, chill out, time out, put you in a corner, something. So when the overall spending falls short of what's needed to keep workers employed, we have a recession. If the overall spending outstrips the supply, we have inflation. So we're running hot, we got inflation. So if the economy experiences shortfalls or excesses in spending, we can you can use government policy to address the imbalance. That's called fiscal policy. So we will get to that in macro, not so much in micro. Um, Increasing the economy's potential leads to economic growth over time. Uh, Economic growth is the increase in living standards over time. So this is a long run kind of thing. So think about it. How much better are you at your age, whatever your age is right now? How much better off are you than your grandparents were at your same age? Okay? Just think about that. Like, what do you have at whatever age you are that your grandparents didn't have at that same age? One is probably the internet. Um, for those that do not realize how new the internet really is, um, I did not have it in undergrad. The internet did not become a thing until I was in grad school. So like that's really a thing. So y'all think of like the internet as like always being around. It's relatively new. Um, so there's that. So I grew up in a real poor area. Um, I still remember as a child riding my bike and stuff around where I grew up, and there were people with outhouses still. So that's back in rural South Carolina. All right, increases over time. You know, the growth over time, economic growth, the increase in living standards, economy's potential is the total amount of goods and services it can produce. So, emergence of new technologies and increases in resources available for production boost the economy's potential and living standards. So, what the internet was for my generation, AI is going to be for your generation. You're going to have to learn to live with it. You're going to have to learn to harness it if you want to survive. And if you don't, it will just steamroll your butt over. That is just how it is. New sources of energy benefit the economy and the environment. They're winners, but at the same time, the reduced demand for coal was hurting mining communities, which creates losers. Do wealthy people such as Oprah and Jeff Bezos, face scarcity? At some point, yeah. Like it's just like Powerball winners, right? You can win $500 million, but $500 million is still just $500 million. If you don't realize what you're doing with it, it can go away. That is chapter one, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you in